Back to another video. My name is Michael. I'm the founder of Buffalo Performance and Analysis, where we combine sports science, strength and conditioning, and sports performance to give coaches the tools necessary to build the next level of elite athletes. In this video, we're looking at some of the work I did back in 2020 as a six-man football coach. This test that we're going to look over here today is based off of max aerobic speed and a 6-week max aerobic speed plan that I put my athletes through. So, what is max aerobic speed? Max aerobic speed is a test utilized to determine an athlete's aerobic speed. Usually it's measured by utilizing the yo-yo intermittent test, or also there's a test called a Bronco Test, which is a repeated shuttle test, and you can calculate their max aerobic speed from that. So what we have here is an Excel sheet with the athletes' names, the week that we used. It was a 6-week program, the percentage of max aerobic speed, the run time, the rest time, the number of sets, reps, and then I broke it down and looked at their pre-test, their post-test numbers, and the rate of improvements, as well as a couple other things that we'll look at here in a second. A normal range for max aerobic speed is between 120 and 135%. The reason being is that when you have the athletes running, you're not having them run for the same duration as they did when they ran their test. So you'll see that our pre-test was, for some athletes, close to 6 minutes. I'm not having them run for 6 minutes. I'm having them run for either 8 or 15 seconds, so they're able to work at a capacity that is higher than their max aerobic speed. This is great for improving, obviously, max aerobic speed, but additionally, it's great at improving repeated sprint ability. There's 3 main methods where you can utilize max aerobic speed during the training sessions. So the first one is just going to be a straight run. So the athletes would run for 8 seconds in a straight line. The second way that they can utilize it is a down and back. So you put a cone at the halfway point. So they run, let's say their distance is 40 meters. They run 20 meters. When they get to their cone, they turn around and run back to the starting point. And that's how they get their 40 meters. Another way that you can do it is utilizing a down up or a burpee in between. So it's like the second method, but you're adding in a burpee when they get to the cone. So instead of running 20 meters, you might have them run like 18. They run the 18 meters, do a burpee, and then run the 18 meters back. In this test that we're looking over here, I just had my athletes run in straight lines. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the filter tool on Excel, and I'm going to just remove the blanks, and that's going to give me the data that I want to look at here. Remove blanks. Okay, so now all we see here are the athlete's code or their initials, as well as some of the statistical stuff that we'll get here in a second. When we look at the rate of improvement, we see that all but one athlete improved. They got faster. The reason why this athlete got slower, he told me after the post-test that he had messed up during the pre-test. So his pre-test time was incorrect and it should have been longer. We see his pre-test time is 7 minutes and 8 seconds and his post-test time is 7 minutes and 20 seconds. He had messed up on his pre-test and it should have been a little bit longer than 7 minutes and 8 seconds. But even while disregarding the fact that he got slower because he messed up on the testing, as well as this athlete getting 11% faster, dropping 42 seconds off of their max aerobic speed time, we still have great results with this. So when we look at this, the means or the average of their max aerobic speed, at the beginning, on average, they took 384 seconds, and the post-test, they ran in, on average, 359 seconds. So on average, our athletes got 24 seconds faster during a 1,200 meter run. So that's very, very good. Then additionally, when we look at the the standard deviations, the standard deviation is how far away from the mean or how far away from the average the data points lie. So there's about 40 seconds away from the mean, and that is consistent with the pre and the post test being off by 0.3 seconds. So standard deviation is fairly consistent throughout. Then what we can do is we can actually utilize the difference of means as well as the square root of standard deviation to calculate Cohen's d. D in this case comes out to be 0.6, and Cohen's d is the effect size, which shows us the difference of means and how significant the difference of means are. So when we're looking at Cohen's d, a Cohen's d of 0.6 is in the moderate range. So from this, we can say that with a Cohen's d of 0.6, that there's a moderate difference in post-test results after a 6 weeks max aerobic speed test. In an ideal situation, we would use a calculation called Hedges G, which is better for smaller sample sizes, but I just went ahead for practical purposes and used Cohen's D for this. Now, how can we apply what we just looked over? Well, moving forward, we know that if we're going to be utilizing this for athletes, they're not really going to be running in a straight line during their sport. So for football players, it's going to be better to use the down up where they run a little bit less than halfway, do a burpee, turn around, and then run back. For athletes such as basketball or soccer, going halfway, turning around and coming back is going to be a great alternative because they're going to have to slow down to get when they get to the cone, turn around when they get to the cone, and then accelerate again as they're running back. It's a little bit more sport specific, and that's just going to give the athletes a little bit more stimulus. One of the things I will note is that the percentages that I used during this test were way too low. If we look at, I'm going to go back, and we're going to select all the data points. And we'll just look at one athlete. They're all consistent throughout the 6 weeks. They never really got past 135%. In fact, they only had one training session at 135%. The first training session, because it was the first training session, I kept it at 100%, and that was way too easy. So moving forward, utilizing percentages well above 120, more in that 130 to 140 or even 145% of max aerobic speed, I believe is going to have a better impact or better result on their post-test results. Additionally, I used a test called a Bronco Test, which is more of a rugby conditioning test. Moving forward, however, you want to get a little bit more specific with the sport. So using something more like a yo-yo intermittent test is going to be a better measurement. It's more standardized, it's more widely accepted, and so it would be a better idea to use a yo-yo intermittent test to compare and contrast the results. I'll be posting another video shortly looking more in depth about what max aerobic speed is, as well as how you can calculate it and utilize it for your athletes. If you're interested in anything that Buffalo Performance and Analysis has to offer, please feel free to reach out. Thanks.